This is your day. It's no one else's day. It's your day. This day belongs to you and no one else. And you need to remember that all the time. So I started saying that to myself every morning. You do it your way, you do it in your time, and you do it the way you want to. And it changed everything. The people that I meet that are at the most peace are people that have gotten out of the race. They have just stopped and said, I'm just doing things my way. It's like when you're running the race, you just get caught up in other people's demands. And I think most people believe that other people's demands are what drive us. So to be able to stop and say no to that is extremely powerful. It opens up you. I've had a mission: create community, create art, and to live the life that I want to live.
Welcome to Live Well, Be Wise, the podcast that deepens the well-being conversation, finding the gold in your stories of hardship and the connection to wise action and lived wellness.
We are your hosts, Dorinda Carlson
And Kari Lyons-Price.
Some community members just stand out for what they do or for all of who they know. Well, Jaime Donegan has done both, the doing and knowing. He's collaborated with so many of our neighbors here in our small valley, but in an unconventional way. For decades now, Jaime has consciously chosen a creative life that brings community members together. How does he do this? Jaime has a foundational mantra that allows him the presence to hold space for himself and ultimately for others. His story unfolds from this realization to journeys within himself and around the world. Warning, giggling ensues as Jaime weaves lightness and humor throughout his chapters. So many in the valley here in Wenatchee do know Jaime, but not everybody knows your story. I think I want to begin with today.
I woke up and the first thing I saw were snow-covered mountains, and it's October 13th, and it's a bit early. It was a nice surprise because yesterday was sort of a drizzly, gloomy day, and I saw the snow first, and then the sun came up, and then it just illuminated the mountains. And then I got up and went for a swim in Lake Chelan. And
Cold, are you kidding?
no, I swim all through the winter. Swam out to the buoys and did a little light meditation out on the buoys and looking at the snow-covered mountains. And then I came back in and went to sleep again. Which was great. So that was kind of a gentle emergence into the day.
So I appreciated this just share as you came in the door prior to us recording, and I wanted you to share it again because the way I see you is you live to your heart and your will, but in a way where you tune in. And I guess that's where I want you to share with us a time where you really recognized that you absolutely wanted and needed to live by your own terms.
I can tell you almost the exact moment. It was, I was living in Philadelphia at the time, and I had my Follies business. I travel around the country and I direct musical variety shows that are used as charity fundraisers. And I had that business, but I was living in Philadelphia and my summers were pretty much free. And so became friends with the two guys that lived next door to me. And out of necessity, one of the guys was like, I'm gonna start a garden business. He started doing it, and it was just sort of odd jobs at first. And then I thought, well, maybe I should do that in the summer times. That could be a fun thing. So I did, and I have a lot of garden experience, and I know how to grow things. And I was donating my time at a house that was built in 1750 that was in my neighborhood, helping with the gardens. And the house was called Grumblethorpe. And Charles Wister, who was in his 80s at the time, still worked at this house. It was his family's. And so anyway, I started helping Charles do that. And a lot of the women that were docents at the house lived on what is known as the main line of Philadelphia. And they started saying, hey, we have this property and we need some help with it, some garden design. I have no training in garden design, but I have a really good eye for design. And so I started doing it. Well, it just took off. And I couldn't keep up with the business that I had in the summertime. And in the meantime, I'm also like working on shows. But it got to a point that was so overwhelming that one day I was driving to work and thinking about 100 things that I had to do. And for some reason, I was stuck in traffic and I was just sitting there and I thought, you know what? This is your day. And it was very clear. I was listening to the radio and I just said, this is your day. It's no one else's day. It's your day. This day belongs to you and no one else. And you need to remember that all the time. So I started saying that to myself every morning. I would wake up and I would say, I have 100 things to do, but I would start off saying, this is your day. You do it your way. You do it in your time, and you do it the way you want to. And it changed everything. Because I feel like people get caught up in the race all the time.
For sure.
And then you get overwhelmed and agitated, and you get behind. And the sense of being behind went away when I said to myself, it's my day. Because I was never then behind because I was doing it in my time.
You weren't in the race anymore.
I got out of the race. And it changed everything for me. And that was so powerful. Yeah. And people would be like, oh, we got to do this. I say, yeah, we can do that. But we were doing that in my time when I can get to it. And I will do my best to, and it wasn't like it gave me license to slack. It gave me license to actually do better work.
I mean, you knew you were in overwhelm, but there was also, it seems like there was this intuitive return to your pace.
Yeah, because when you get out of everyone else's pace, find your own rhythm, you can accomplish more than anyone can imagine. It's when you're in the race and you're trying to play catch up all the time that you lose everything. So, I've met thousands and thousands of people all around the world. And I think the people that I meet that feel to me are at the most peace are people that have gotten out of the race. They have just stopped and said, I'm just doing things my way. And that's the way it is. Mostly creative people, but even people that are in the tech world, it's like when you're running the race, you just get caught up in other people's demands. I think most people believe that other people's demands are what drive us. So to be able to stop and say no to that is extremely powerful. It opens up you, and you can then live where you know you are the best.
Yeah. What was maybe one or two other things you started to notice in your life after you got out of the race?
I slept better. I found that I was just much more relaxed. And just saying that, like I'd be in my truck and I'd be going to a job to plant flowers and make somebody's yard beautiful. And I had 6 or 8 other clients that wanted me for that same day, one at a time. And I can only do what I can do. It just made me more relaxed. And I think I became a happier person. Actually, my clients saw the difference as well.
I was wondering about that.
My creative juices were flowing better than they had been.
Yeah.
Because I was able to just stop. If you're on the hamster wheel, you're just going round and round, and you're spinning out the same crap. So when you get off the hamster wheel, you're able to dial into your own creativity. And that was a major difference because I didn't want to do what everybody else did.
Yeah, I've had a friend say, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. And sometimes you have to be reminded. But yeah, if you stay in your lane, you're tending to what you need to tend.
Yeah. There's an old quote, and I don't know who said it, but it's actually referenced in the musical Hamilton, is eat under your own tree. And I love that because you can interpret it 1,000 different ways. But for me, it was about comfort. And in this case, it was about George Washington, in fact. And it was find your own pace, find your own world that you live in, and don't get caught up in other people's spin. And I have, in fact, been caught up in other people's spin. They are the most unhappy and darkest times of my life because you get caught up in a whirlwind of spin. I am the master of detecting spin now, and I don't tolerate it.
Can I ask it this way? Yeah. Where do you feel it?
Oh, you feel it in your gut. You feel it.
It lands.
It lands right in your gut. And it's when other people are pushing an agenda that doesn't feel right for you. And to be able to stand up and say to yourself, that's okay. Instead of beating yourself up,
right,
which is what most people do. And believe me, I have been there 100 times, thousands probably. Well, that doesn't do you any good, and it doesn't do the client any good. And at the end of the day, there's frustration, and then there's anger and separation. I think what I've learned is to start the project with that framework. Say, I'm the creator. You've asked me, you've hired me to be the creator. I am going to create as well as I can for you, but the timeline might not match up to what you think it is going to be. And for the most part, if you start with that up front, there's a conciliatory manner that begins to happen, and it's okay. But if you don't do that up front, then there's frustration.
Yeah.
And so it's really about finding your voice to own that moment.
Curious about an experience, a story, a time in your life that helped you find your voice.
Wow, God, I have a lot of moments. The very first time I found my voice, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. I had a music teacher, Joan Enns was her name, and she actually called my mom and said, he has a voice and he should be using it. I didn't know I had a voice. Yeah. They told me I had a voice. And so I joined this choir at a church, went into it, and then I started giving me solos and asking me to do things that I didn't know I could do, and then I did. I just could do it. And I remember singing a solo for the very first time, and my family was there, and people were there, and they were like, "What's going on?" Because my mom couldn't sing a note, like she couldn't hold a tune in a bucket, and that was the very first time that I realized I had a voice and that there was power in that voice.
I was going to say it was more than just the sound, wasn't it?
Yeah, because all of a sudden you're getting accolades and you realize that there's appreciation for it. And I probably was singing around the house at some point, and there was no
goofing off.
There was no feedback, there was no nothing, and suddenly this person, and she became a really important person in my life all the way through high school, and then it just got to be more and more. I started performing more, and then went to school to become a performer. I didn't realize at the time that my next voice would be as a director, and I found that actually quite by mistake. But my first job out of college was as a director, and
what was it for?
I met someone when I was in college who had been involved in one of these charity fundraising musical variety shows, and they had become friends with the director. And this was an older person that I met at a dinner party, and we were talking, and he said, "I should put you in touch with this director. I don't know why, I just feel like you need to be in touch with this person." So I did, and then I sent a resume into this company in New York, because I was getting ready to graduate from college, and the company said they didn't need anyone at the time, but they would keep me on file, whatever. And I was like, I just thinking that was the end of it. And then I moved to New York, and I got a phone call one day, and I actually had a message machine, which was new.
Does everybody know what that is? Yeah.
I got home a day later, and on my message machine, there was a message from the company that I had sent a message to. Anyway, I ended up getting hired Waycross, Georgia, directing a show by the seat of my pants.
Wow.
I really didn't know anything about directing. And I was just having a blast, and the show happened and it went off great. And the woman that was the chair of the show, she came up to me at the cast party and she goes, "This is your first show, isn't it?" And
She could tell.
And I said, "Yeah, you did a great job."
Oh,
and
nice.
so I found a new voice. And that voice has just grown stronger and stronger and stronger. And it has taken me from directing to speaking to large groups of people, doing motivational speaking about a lot of what we've already talked about.
Oh, cool.
Finding your voice,
gonna ask.
finding what you're comfortable with, and finding, in my case particularly, finding community.
I love it. You dropped community. There's the next path.
well, and that's why we're even doing this, is to find community in our stories. That kind of brings us to sharing not only voice, but the hardships in life and moving along with that voice. It's interesting how we define lifestyles. You have chosen what I believe you call a home-free lifestyle.
That is true.
From your background, what I'm hearing is that you're solid wherever you go. But can you tell us, when did this recognition of this different life come to fruition?
Yeah. I am a firm believer that it is our job to create our own lives. And I don't believe that most people think that, or they allow themselves to think that. When I was on social media, I would have so many people be all like, "Oh my God, I'm living vicariously through you." And that was always very interesting for me to hear, because I didn't think I was doing anything spectacular or out of the ordinary. I was doing the things I wanted to do because I made a choice to do it.
So they were looking to you kind of inspiration.
Yeah, it is fun to garner some pleasure from other people, like watching their lives or their trips or whatever. But again, we are responsible for one thing in our lives: our own happiness and how we live. So back to the home free thing, I lived a long life in Philadelphia. I lived 20 years in a house that I grew to love and make it into my home. And at some point said, I don't want to be here any longer. And I spent hours meditating and visualizing a different life. And at that time, I also had an apartment in New York. So I ended up in a horrific housing market. I said to myself, I want a different life. And I sold my house top dollar in 3 days on Craigslist, which was amazing. And I moved back to New York, but I was traveling a lot, and I started living a little bit more of a home-free life. And then my building was sold. The new owners jacked the rent up to double, and I tried to negotiate with them, and they were not budging. And so I thought, you know what? I could take this money and travel really well and have a really good time in between shows. And because when I'm doing a show, it's a month-long project, so I have housing, and so I would say 6 months out of the year, my housing was already taken care of. So I had another 6 months to think about what I wanted to do. And I thought, well, I would go live in Buenos Aires for a month or two, and I would go live in Paris for a month or two. And I would just go and find a place, and I loved it. And people were like, oh, you have the best life. I'm like, well, I have the best life for me. It's maybe not going to be the best life for you because you have a different lifestyle. You have a different scenario. And so I started doing that, and that's how I ended up out here, was because I had been coming here to direct the Folly shows and had made a lot of friends here. I kept coming back more and spending more time here, allowing myself to be essentially home free, which, I'm staying in people's homes out of the goodness of their hearts, which is lovely. I found a new Jaime Donegan that I didn't even know existed. Everything comes with some sort of agreement and some sort of deal you work out. And you have to be willing and open to doing that. And I have been. It's sometimes amazing, it's sometimes a little strained, but you figure that out, and that's everyone's life.
Yeah.
And so I continue to figure things out, and here I am, sitting at
Home
a table
free.
with
Right.
you fine people.
I feel like you really actually have chosen family. And I think some of your home free perspective is also from losing family, right? So, it's kind of like a balance. But to live the way you do is like taking on new family.
Part of the home free spirit that I have came from some personal loss of people that were very dear to me. And going through grief was actually an amazing adventure. I don't think most people think that way. I happen to, now that I'm looking back at it. In 1997, I lost the three most important people to me within months of each other. And in a wonderful twist of fate, I ended up going with a good friend to Nepal and hiking for several months. I recommend that to anyone going through grief, because when you physicalize anything, whether it's, you get on a treadmill, help your body and your brain work through grief. Yeah. I am a huge advocate. If you're presented with grief, dig in, find out what you're made of. It's truly a wonderful gift that, I choose to believe that a gift that person gave you. And
kind of like breakdown to breakthrough.
Yeah. And so I remember just trekking up and down the Himalayan mountains and thinking about the people and thinking about what they meant to me. And all I did was get lighter and lighter and lighter, both physically and mentally.
Right.
I think I lost 20 pounds. Thank God I had like a little stretchy belt, because none of my pants would stay up anymore. But it was crazy. But I literally felt all the weight of the world lifting from me. And one of the people that passed away was my partner, and my mother and my grandmother were the other two. And another friend, she died very tragically in a plane accident. And so it was a lot all at once. And I remember we were trekking in this one area, remote northern Nepal. We had decided to ride horses. And so we had a horse guy, and we were going to go into this one village. And he said, we will not be going into that village, because my girlfriend's brother's cousin's sister's mother's dog said that there's a Yeti in that village, and I'm not going to put my horses in danger.
Wow.
And he was dead serious. And I was like, okay, so we're not going that. And we ended up going to another village that, as we were walking into this village, this is going to get weird now, I knew where I was. I knew this village. I knew exactly where everything was. And my friend Susan I was like, follow me. I know where we are. And we went trekking, and we walked up, and there was a monastery up there. And we walked up, and there was this young monk standing outside. He was probably 17 years old. And he looked at me and he goes, "We've been waiting for you." And I went, oh my God. Stop. I know. And we walked in, and all the monks were sitting around. They were getting ready for a celebration. They were making sculptures out of butter, and they were doing all this. And I was like, I know. And I looked up the side of the mountain, and there was this structure. And as soon as I looked up, he looked at me, and you want to go up? And I was like, yeah, let's go. And so he took me up to this room, and it was incredible. I don't even know how to describe this. It's so weird to most people, but I swear to God, we walked in the room. I knew everything. And there's a Buddhist deity called Mahakala. And Mahakala is deity that protects you on your road, on your path to enlightenment. He's fierce, this Mahakala guy. This was the Mahakala room. I didn't know until I was there. I didn't know anything about Mahakala. I didn't remember any of that, but I knew the room. As soon as we walked in, I was like, I know this room. And this young monk, he was the keeper of the Mahakala room, and I knew that I had been that person at some point.
I'm on the edge of my chair sweating very
we
slowly.
walked in, and it's a very, very dark room, but there was a ray of light coming from a tiny window at the top, and there was a bowl of apples sitting on the table. And apples are a big deal there. They're hard to come by. And so we go in, and he walks over, and there's a huge chest against the wall, and he opens it up, and it's all of this medieval weaponry, chainmail and big, huge swords and poles and all this stuff like that. And so he actually got a couple down, and the two of us jousted in the room for a little bit, and we were
In the
laughing
Mahalakala room?
in the Mahalakala room, and
That's
we're just
ballsy, man.
we're just having this amazing time, and I was just like, I know. He goes, I know you know. The point of this whole thing was we went off the beaten path, and we never would have gone there, and everything changed for me. The next day, we woke up, and he came and got us, and we went in, and all the monks were in the room. And they had a spiritual ceremony for Kevin, my partner, for my mother, for my grandmother, and for our friend Julie, to say goodbye to them, to really let it go. And truly, we let it go. And for the rest of the trip hiking, I felt so light. I'm like looking at like the flowers and the butterflies and the way the clouds were going. And I just felt so much lighter.
Your attention shifted.
Everything changed. And then we got back on the horses. And as we were riding out of town, felt like I was in a Western movie.
Dare I look behind me?
Is this Shangri-La? Is it going to just disappear?
In the clouds.
Because it just was so important to me. I'll never forget that. It changed my life. But literally, we're riding out of town on these horses, and I'm like, I can't even look back because it might disappear.
Right.
It might never have happened, and it changed everything. I became a lighter person. I came back. I realized I have so many material possessions. I don't want them anymore. Get rid of it. You don't need that stuff. The things that are important are the people around you, the experiences that you're having, and things like this, just sitting down with people and talking about real things. We don't really ever sit down and talk about the real things that are happening in life. And so that became important to me. Everything I want to do for the rest of my life, no matter how long it is to find the things that are really important and to say what I need to say without fear. People can take it or leave it. It's totally fine. And I don't think a lot of people might go, oh, yeah, what drugs was he on?
Right.
I wasn't on any drugs. I was definitely high in the Himalayas.
I was going to say, what elevation
I was way up in the Himalayas and having these amazing experiences. Those are the moments that, one, you find out what you're made of, and two, you find out what you expect for the rest of your life. Like, what direction am I going in?
I'm kind of imagining when you're in the kitchen, gathering your spices to cook creatively and spice a dish just the way that you want it, that you're in the mood for, that you've really collected through experience, your ingredients for living a good life. And what's really important to you helps you live well.
You're speaking my language because I love to cook. I love to cook, and I love to use spices and figure things out.
So, and that's really what we're highlighting here. How do we glean the gems, the little parts of experience that have changed us or just speak to us or inspire us? And then how do we keep threading it back into our life so that we continue to be inspired and grow love or grow freedom or find our voice again and again and teach it and share it?
It's constant.
Looping.
You have to pay attention. Attention spans have become so short with the world that we live in, and it's the reality. So I don't want to live in a world with short attention spans. Okay, it's not the world I want. So where am I going to throw my focus? Where am I going to throw my creativity? That is a little bit of like the Follies business doing these community shows is dying off because they love it when they do it. Yep. They throw themselves into it and they're like, best thing that ever happened to me. This was so much fun. I needed this so much. If you just say, hey, you want to do it? They're like, I don't have the time to do that. the last 40 some years, I have directed these Folly shows. It's people from the community.
In numerous cities. You go city.
Cities all over the country. It is the community coming together to put on a musical variety show that is used to raise money for a particular charity. So that's what I've done, my life's work. That was the big thing. And going back to community, I love that I got to experience in my life a lot of communities. You know, some people only ever live in one community and they don't know anything other than that. My life has been living in literally hundreds of communities across the country. And that changed me and made me a person that I can literally talk to anyone. I can bring something to a community that probably would never have been brought through the shows that I'm doing. I work with people in a way that I try to bring the best out of everyone. It took me a long time to figure this out. It's never about the show. The show is just the experience. It's about the process.
Earlier you said no agenda is the key, because if you have agenda, you're in the race.
Yeah.
So how does a director not hold agenda whilst holding the vision for the show?
Well, one, I think, is defining the difference between vision and agenda. Vision has the opportunity to change. Agenda is hard-driven. And I feel like in the early days, I worked more from agenda mode because here's the show, here's how it's going to be. I was given an incredible gift by my friends who are here locally, North 40 Productions. It was Howl at the Moon Productions. They made a documentary following me doing the Folly shows. And it started off, they were coming to different places. It ended up all being Wenatchee focused. The gift that they gave me was a DVD that were personal interviews with people that they had done. And I never get to hear those stories. No. And they had sat down with people and why is it important to do the Follies? And they gave that to me for my 50th birthday. And I was in tears because I never get to hear that. I don't have the time to get into all of that with everybody, all their personal stories. But this was extremely significant to me because that's when I realized it's not about the show.
Yes.
It's about the process and what the process does for people as they are working through whatever. Maybe they've just gone through a divorce. And that's when agenda-driven almost completely went away because I realized it's not about the show. I still want to put on a good show because I'm a theater director, but let's work within a different set of parameters instead of being in the race. A lot of times I'll walk into a show and it's like, hey, here's the bones, but all of you are going to assist me in fleshing it out. And that became so much more satisfying. It's more about what you can bring. I'll have the vision and I'll hold the vision until the vision needs to change. And so really you're just a compass. And I think
they're holding true north.
Holding true north. And if somebody goes, well, but what if we do that? And I go, I think you're exactly right. Let's shift and go towards that a little bit and find what that is, because that might work even better. And if it doesn't work, we'll come back to this. Yeah. And that we're all creating this together. Yeah. So I feel like giving people that space and that freedom to co-create.
Yeah, co-create.
We are
Absolutely. It sounds like you're coming from a heart space rather than the mind space as far as that agenda versus vision holding. And then that gives people, freedom to participate and feel comfortable and trusting that they can actually have a voice to participate. And that gives them further introspection and reflection. And that's what you heard in your gift from this CD. Wow.
It was great. Everybody has a wonderful experience.
What it feels like is your focus is them, not the show or the agenda. It's like, let's have this person express. And that's very different.
Yeah, I had an experience one time with a show, and we were doing a number, and a gal that was deeply religious came up to me, and it was in a moment where there was a lot of frenzy and everything. And she's like, I'm offended by this. It wasn't the right time to address it. And I said, okay, I hear you. Can we talk about that later? She was like, yeah. I think a day or two went by, and I went back up to her and I was like, listen, I heard what you had to say. Tell me more about what it is. And she talked to me for a couple of minutes, and then I responded to her, oh, okay. And that was it. And she goes, thank you for hearing me and listening to me. And that's all it was. She just wanted to be heard and acknowledged. And sometimes that is the bigger growth in a project than, getting the number right or getting the number the way I want it to be. It stands in my mind always that a lot of people, they might have an idea or they might have a concern. And it's not that you have to change anything. Maybe you'll make an adjustment, but they just want to be heard. That was a big lesson for me.
Love it. I feel like a lot of things that you're highlighting are little pearls of wisdom. Let's call it wisdom.
Okay.
That one to me seems so universal, and I know I've learned that in my life. Listening is power because we get an opportunity to just hold presence. I guess that's the way I would say it today. And such a base level is what we all want. Anything else that you would kind of put in that sort of wisdom category that you have gathered thus far in your life that might be something that could inspire other listeners if they're feeling stuck in the race or not finding their voice or not being heard?
A wisdom that came to me because of the life that I've had was working in all of these communities. I had a lifetime of that. These communities became my community. I didn't have to look at it that way. I chose to look at it that way, that they were my community as well, and as much as the people that actually live there all the time. So that was something that I gleaned a long time ago. And so a lot of times when I'm in these different towns across the country, I end up speaking at exchange clubs and rotaries. And oftentimes I would talk about community, and community is what the Follies are all about. It's not about the show. It's about building community. And time and time and time again, I hear from people. I have met and made friends with people that I never would have known if I hadn't done this thing. And it doesn't matter where I go, I hear that. That's a nonstop story in my life. And so I would tell the people, you live here. This is your community, but it's my community too. It's my community because I just spent a month here. Because I'm home free, this is my community too. So things are important to me. When I get up in the morning and I go for a walk, I take a trash bag with me and I pick up trash. And not for any purpose other than I don't like litter. So
You're not looking to be in the paper.
I'm not looking to be in the paper or anything. It's like, this is my community for this next month. And by the way, I've been coming here for 25 years. And so this is as much my community as it is yours. And I would see people go like, what? They couldn't even wrap their brains around it. And then afterwards, the conversations that ensued were really interesting because people were coming up, that's so amazing. I never would have thought about that. When I go to other places now, I'm going to think of it as my community. And so I've had the opportunity and the great fortune to travel around the United States, go into these communities, work, know the people. I know generations of people. I was in Bristol, Tennessee. I'm sitting in a booth in a restaurant, and somebody was talking to me, and they said my name. And all of a sudden, this young gal pops over from the other side, and she goes, "Are you Jaime Donegan?" I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "You used to hold me when I was a baby, when my mom was in rehearsals for the Follies 20 years ago." And I was like, "Yes, I did." And it was just, I knew the grandparents, I know the parents, I know the kids. So they are as much my community in a way as the people that live there full time. And now this just popped into my head because in second grade, my second grade teacher, Mrs. Smith, she had us all write what we wanted to be when we grew up. And this was in 1968. I wrote my little paper, and then we had to staple it shut, and then it said not to be opened until 1988.
Wow.
And I wanted to be a missionary. And I realized that I got to be a missionary.
Absolutely.
In a different way. Well, it was very interesting because my missionary statement was I wanted to be a missionary because I wanted to teach people about the love of Jesus. But then I also went on because I confused a lot of things with the show Dark Shadows that was on. Because the crucifix, and so I had a little Jesus, I had a little Barnabas Collins in there, a little bit of that. So
it was a variety show.
It's a variety show. And I just wanted to be a missionary. And so in a sense, I feel like I have accomplished that. I've had a mission.
Yes,
and
you have.
My mission has been to create community, create art, and to live the life that I want to live. Barnabas Collins and all.
Wow, and wow.
And so this has really just helped me. And that's why we're doing this podcast. It's like, let's remember why we're here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And I think without even talking about wellness, that's just what we talked about.
Absolutely.
Like living a good life.
Sometimes what we do is we ask is if they have a question for our audience, leave them with something to reflect on.
Ask, what would it feel like to say to yourself every morning, this is my day. How do I want this day to go? And know that no matter what the twists and turns of the day, that you are putting it through your lens. It's you set it up in the morning. This day goes through my lens. And that's not being selfish. That's allowing you to feel comfort in your own skin for the day as other people come and go, as needs and arise and go forth, that you say to yourself, this is my day. And then just say, go. I'm not in the race. I think it's hard for people that are in relationships and that have kids,
Sure.
that they're just running. And I don't know how parents do it. They have no time for their lives. And so there's a lot of frustration and getting caught up in the rat race. And for them to be able to say, this is my day. My kids are part of my day.
It's like, is there room for you in it too? Yeah.
You have to be present for yourself, or you're not present for anyone else. If you don't take the time to be present for who you are and what you need during a day, you're not ever going to be able to give anyone the best of you. You're giving them a version of you that is, wound up tight, that is in a jar, closed off. So be yourself and say, this is my day.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. But I also can think of times in my own life and a lot of people I know that don't know who they are, or they're in that very stuck place. And so they don't even resonate yet with, how do I own who I am if I don't know? What would be one place to start?
Well, I think asking yourself questions, and I do this all the time. It's like I asked myself some questions the other night. What do I need to change in my life to be a better version of who I am? And we don't always know who we are. We are fluid people.
Sure.
And we can change every single day and 20 times during a day or more. But to always stay curious and open to the possibilities, allowing yourself to be who you are and giving yourself permission
to have your voice,
to say no to things,
Yeah.
to say yes to things, to make decisions not based on pressure from the outside, making decisions based on who you are at the moment and where you are at the moment for whatever is being asked, giving the best you.
Your lower version versus your higher version of yourself.
Yeah, because we all have to get a lot of shit done. And how you do it is what your life is. And make the choices you make to get all of that done is what your life is.
We all have a lot of shit to get done. Number 2, the way you do it is how your life is. I love that.
The process
Yes.
is where it's all at. But we hear that all the time. People are like, it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Right.
And it's become so like
Cliche, for
and
sure.
repetitive that you don't really stop and think. It is just that. That's the nutshell right there.
Jamie.
Take a bow, Jamie
Yeah,
Donegan.
yeah. But I want to say that this is my day, my life. And I tell you what, my heart is so full. And I could even cry saying this, that I am so glad that my life path has crossed with yours.
Me too.
This has been precious. I am so thrilled and I feel so much gratitude.
Thanks for asking me to do this. This is wonderful. And I didn't talk with my hands that much. Everybody's like, are you Italian? I'm like, no, Scottish and Irish mainly.
We'll come back anytime.
All right.
Live Well, Be Wise is produced and recorded by Kari Lyons Price and yours truly, Dorinda Carlson. Our music is titled Inside You by Leva, a musician and composer at Lemon Music Studio, who we happily found on pixabay.com. Our circle of sharing has concluded for today, but we'd like to give a great gratitude to you, my friend, for listening, for tuning in, maybe even tapping into that understanding and compassion and the knowing within that tells us we're not alone in our own stories. So maybe you would like to share one of your own, or know a friend or a mentor or a teacher, someone you admire that has an extraordinary and inspirational story. We all have stories. The more we share, the more we know we're not alone. And don't be shy to reach out to connect in other ways too. Of course, we'd love for you to subscribe and also give feedback. We wouldn't be here without you. We appreciate you. Live well, be wise.